Okay then, we have more stuff to go through in the Overwatch League. We have 2 transfers to take a look at, and then we are going to take a look at some re-signings for the 2021 season at the San Francisco Shock. So, first of all, let's look at these signings, and first of all, we are going to be looking at a signing. We have a person going from the Chengdu Hunters to the Shanghai Dragons, an exchange within China. This is something we've been expecting for a while. This is the flex support player Molly going from Chengdu Hunters to Shanghai Dragons. I think Molly is a good player. He is also very young. Shanghai Dragons, they have been changing things up. From what it sounds like Moon wants to do at the Shanghai Dragons, Molly wouldn't just be coming in as a backup. Molly would be coming in as the new flex support. This means that Izayaki would be dropped. Very interesting. Izayaki would be a bench player mostly. Very, very interesting. Molly, I'm curious to see how this works out, because it is possible that he can make him into a good player. I think that's really possible. And I think it'll benefit the Shanghai Dragons in many different ways. Not only last year did they have a roster that every time it turned out it was pretty much all Korean, which, you know, doesn't show much home support, and I know that's a big thing in China. So this is a very great PR move, without a doubt. But also, I like it. I don't know why, but I like it. Molly is a good player. Yeah, he's not a great, he's not the greatest flex support in the league. Flex support is a really, really tough role to get to the top of the league in. When we look at flex supports, we're looking at Alarm, we're looking at Jonak, we're looking at Violet. It's a very difficult role to completely stand out above the rest in. But I think Molly is a good flex support. And I think he was one of the better players on the Chengdu Hunters. So this will be interesting to see how this works with the Shanghai Dragons. And something else that Moon said in an interview was the fact that he has ideas for Erster. He believes Erster is a very great player, and he wants to return him to a Season 2 form, because he really didn't do much in Season 3. So that will be very interesting, and he sees more. I think he believes Erster is more of a Genji meta sort of player. So it'll be very interesting to see how Shanghai Dragons work with this. And yeah, Shanghai Dragons have been down on recently, mainly because they lost Fearless and they picked up Fate. I still don't see them as a top 5 team, because I think top 5, and I think the league in itself is going to get very competitive next year. When you've got people like Toronto coming up with the signings they're making, then you've got people like Dallas Fuel, obviously, who are going to be much better than they were last year. Los Angeles Gladiators have made significant improvements. So when we see teams coming up from the ranks, from mid-table, shall we say, Hangzhou Spark, they've made some decent signings. Guangzhou Charge changing things up. And then we've got teams at the top, Philadelphia Fusion, San Francisco Shock. They haven't got the players they had, especially Philadelphia Fusion. Are they going to be as dominant? Are they going to be as powerful as they were? Solidity, they're kind of maintaining a steady pace right now. So I think, especially top 10, is going to be a lot more competitive next year. And Shanghai Dragons, I was worried, are they going to keep up? I think they're a top 10 team. I think they're a top 6 team. Are they a top 3 team? I don't think so. Not right now. And I haven't seen anything, you know, even in Molly and stuff like that. I don't see anything that's going to change that right now. And I think this is most likely the last signing for the Shanghai Dragons, unless they lose anyone. So, yeah, that's the way I look at Shanghai Dragons right now. But let's now take a look at the other signing we are going to go through. This is Happy. Happy has left the Guangzhou Charge. We all knew about that. And he is moving to the Houston Outlaws. Again, something that had been rumoured for quite a while. Some people will debate about this till the cows come home. I think Happy is a fantastic hitscan player, and I think he's a great pickup for the Houston Outlaws. Happy and Dante alongside each other. Oh boy, that sounds pretty nasty. I like that. Happy versus XD in the Battle of Texas, is going to be an interesting one. And if I was to weigh those two players up, I think XD is more flexible. I think Happy relies a lot on long-range hit scan, a lot on the Widow, the McCree, and the Ashe, whereas I think XE is more capable on things like a Tracer. But it will be incredibly interesting to see those two go up against each other in the Battle of Texas. Providing we get it, obviously. Because there is the possibility that Dallas move over to APAC region, considering they're all Korean. But yeah, I like this signing for the Houston Outlaws. I think it's a good signing. I think it is a step in the right direction. And I'd like to see them make some really nice signings. Crimzo is okay. Nah. That's all I can say about that. But Happy is good. And I want to see more of these good signings. I want them to do what the Toronto Defiant basically have done. Toronto Defiant signed Beast and re-signed Logic, and we were like, okay, dude. Okay. But then they came in and smacked us with Aztec and Anson J and Sado. I want Houston Outlaws to do this if they want to go up in my power rankings, basically. Because Happy is not going to get them up there alone. Guangzhou Charge showed that. But in the right meta, Happy can be crazy good. Especially if we hit a Widowmaker or a pick meta like that. Anyway, now we move on to the San Francisco Shock. Because they have re-signed a bunch of players to 2021 contracts that we were worried about. So, first of all, they tried to debate everyone on Twitter by saying they were letting Choi Coben, Striker and Smurf go, but actually they weren't. It was a complete debate and rickroll. They are keeping them, quite obviously, for the 2021 season. These players are critical to the San Francisco Shock. They make them a championship team, basically. Can't argue with that. But there is one player that we had a lot of questions about because he was kind of hinting at things and there were rumors going around, and this is Violet. So, Violet is definitely sticking with the San Francisco Shock for 2021. And I think this is massive. Actually, completely massive. Possibly bigger than the others. And the reason I say for that is because Violet is one of the best, if not the best, flex supports in the league. And he is a massive, massive part of the Shock team. Shock have lost Moth. Moth was a big part of their support line. And they now have Twilight and they have FD God. So I don't believe they would be much of a support line without Violet. And so them nailing Violet down is crucial to the San Francisco Shock's aim at a three-peat of championships in 2021. And I'm sure a lot of people don't want to see San Francisco Shock win it for the third time in a row. I don't think that would be very good for the league in terms of its general look. A team dominating for 3 seasons in a row is rough. But San Francisco Shock will be a title contender. I really, really believe that. With Violet, Choi Coben, Striker, and Smurf all nailed down, that is the core of the San Francisco Shock nailed down. Ans is probably not going anywhere. They have lost Rascal, and I think that hurts them in terms of flexibility. I think they will rely a little bit too much on Tayo, and I'm not sure whether he is the greatest. Then we have the Moth issue. They've lost the leader in Moth. I believe that, and I think that weakens them slightly more. And then we've got Super. We still don't know what's going on with Super. He has not come out in any of these re-signings yet. The consensus is that Super will leave the San Francisco Shock. I don't think, in terms of mechanical skill, I don't think Super is a great loss. I think Super is a great loss to the Shock in terms of his vibe. In terms of the vibe he brings to the team, the way he plays and the way he is just boosts the San Francisco Shock. It just boosts them all the time. You can see it when he comes into a game. He's a morale booster inside and outside of the lobby. And so I think that's where Super becomes a big loss for the San Francisco Shock. If they are in dire need of a turnaround, if they are in dire need of hyping up, who do they turn to if they don't have Super? Well, who knows? To be quite honest, who knows? Because I don't see it. I don't see it on the Shock roster. Not someone like Super. Not that instant just boost. I don't see it. So we will remain to see what happens at the San Francisco Shock with the rest of the people that are not currently tied down. Super is the only question mark I really have, and he's been linked with the Houston Outlaws. I don't know about that, to be quite honest. It'll be interesting to see where he goes, if he does go, but he would be following Jumpbuck. So it would make some sense. it'll be interesting to see what happens to Super. And I think it will be very interesting to see a San Francisco Shock that doesn't have Super, and whether they can turn it around in the clutch situations when they need to. Because Super, he really helped them in those grand finals in terms of turning things around. His hold was great. So with that part missing, something that's been with the San Francisco Shock all through their massive success, it will be a different Shock, even if it's still a very, 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 very good Shock, which it will be, because these players are fantastic. Anyway, I am going to leave it here for this one. I will continue to keep an eye out on the rest of the stuff. Of course, transfers on the Discord server and full currently assigned rosters on the Discord server as well, so join with that in the description below. But I am going to leave it here for this one, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.